Right, yeah.
The demo?
Yeah, the 4-track stuff on tape. And we actually, up where the pigeons are right there, Scott and I were yelling at cops that were walking by when we were drunk recording in there. And the cops actually were banging on the door and ended up getting Vern in some trouble, I think, because he's not even supposed to be in there after hours, but he's a projectionist. Here he has a band set up in one of the theaters recording with, mics and everything. Cops are like, there's people yelling pig this or that or whatever. We were so drunk.
What was it like recording for the first time? Like, never having done that before?
I didn't even know what to do. Actually, Pat Malley recorded us the first time in the Capitol Theater. He does the yo-yo stuff. And I didn't even know how to do it. I had no idea.
Say, like, how for recording.
When it came to recording, I had no idea what to do. There's some dude setting up microphones around your equipment and putting up walls and sound barriers and then doing vocals and stuff. And actually, we never used the first recording stuff for anything. It's still probably on some tape that Pat has over there at the Capitol Theater. The first recording we ever did was Vern did a 4-track in the State Theater and released a cassette.
But you had played shows previously to that.
Yeah.
So, compare like what it was like recording versus playing.
Well, live, it broke a lot of strings and just kind of fucked up a lot. We never used a tuner and never had our guitars the right. I know when we were like, here, give me your D or whatever. Nobody does that, and it's all, you're supposed to be hooked into a tuner and we just be like, dong dong, dong dong. Every song. It was pretty obnoxious, I'm sure. But recording was, I always thought that was really fun. Once we got into it and learned how it was supposed to sound, how we wanted it to sound. And once we got past being able to just play the most basic, sloppy, shitty power chords and stuff like that.
Because you guys basically learned how to play your instruments together, right?
Right. Scott was the drummer in the high school jazz band. So he had a kit and he knew how to play the drums. I just got a guitar and a little Fender amp and did not know how to play the guitar at all, except someone showed me how to do a power chord. Jared had a bass and a karaoke machine this big, and it had a little cassette player and like an instrument input. So it was like the first time we practiced little jazz kit, Fender guitar amp, and then a karaoke machine for the bass. Thump, thump, thump. Sounded like shit.
Maybe start off, saying what age and where that was.
We were in high school. Scott and Jared actually, I think, were playing together just for fun every once in a while out at his mom's house. I was 15, and Jared and I were in a chemistry class together called Action Chemistry. It was like the bonehead class where you just, give me a credit for, you mix baking soda and vinegar and it foams up, you know what I mean? It's just really stupid. You didn't have to do any lab work and take any notes. It was like home ec, except it was science. You know what I mean? It was so dumb. So we were just talking there. We just bullshitted the whole time we were in there. And said, we should just start a band, And we weren't doing it based on, I can play this well, and you're pretty good this. It was like, oh, you're funny, It was more like, let's make a silly thing, It was kind of just a joke, really. And then pretty soon our friend Vern was like, well, you guys should just come and play a real show. I don't know. But that's how it was. It was like 1990 in high school we met and then started playing out of Jared's mom's shed.
And what year of high school?
Sophomore high school.
So
Tumwater High School.
Sophomore in high school when you started.
Yeah. You want me to say it?
Yeah.
I was a sophomore in high school at Tumwater High School when we started. And in that class.
You knew Jared before that?
Yeah. Fuck yeah, Christian AA bikers! Go Dennis! It's as badass as Easy Rider, except they can give you a filling. we met in the 7th grade. Jared and I, well, Scott and I met in 6th grade. He moved to Tumwater School District, and he was fucking, like, when I was in 6th grade, he was this tall. You know what I mean? Compared to everyone else. He just had that, like, sprout thing. And it was like, wow, he was a giant guy. And then everyone grew, you know, eventually. But he's just one of those early, like, sprouting giants. It was pretty amazing. So we were friends then, you know. We would hang out and sleep over and bullshit and stuff. Then me and Jared till middle school. And the reason we met was we were walking through the door one day at these swinging doors. I think we had the same Pee Wee Herman t-shirt. It's like, hey, bro, Pee Wee Herman. He's like, oh, fuck yeah. You know, and then so we just talked when we saw each other. Then on, and then we just kind of like would chat in the halls and stuff until we got into chemistry class, and then yeah, melting of the idiots. Yeah. That it was good times.
So what was Scott like when you met him? Like, what was your first impression of him?
All right, like I was the weirdest person I knew when I was 12 until I met Scott, and then I was like, dude, I look kind of cool, you know. Got my shit together. He was so weird, and the funniest motherfucker. He would say things just like, when you're 12, you know, you don't. He said things that were a little smarter and a little more clever. We're just like, oh yeah, that's great, you know. So we kind of hit it off, just the humor thing. I think Jared and I did the same thing. It was really about sense of humor more than what you like or what you're into. You know? As far as the music part went, in fact, I don't think. I was into really lame music, really. Jared was the one that was like, hey, listen to this. What's that? Oh, it's Nirvana, or this is the Melvins, or, you know, stuff where I was just like, wow, that's, you know, I thought it was the best stuff I'd ever heard. I was listening to, you know, stupid, you know, Judas Priest, Slayer, Idiot Rock, music. Well, actually, Black Flag a little bit, but not enough. You know, Jared was like, no, listen to this. It's the best band ever. It was the Melvins. You know? Wow, it's so good. And we saw them I saw them at the North Shore Surf Club. I think I was 16. It was so fucking good. It was the best thing I'd ever seen. And then after that time, Scott got like this Melvins album, and he started listening to it. And instead of just doing the straightforward drum stuff, all of a sudden he was going slam, 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 crack, crack, slam, slam, you know, cymbal, 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 and we just started trying to get more and more equipment to be as loud as possible. And we weren't as good as them, though.
So what about the fans?
Oh, the carp thing? That's kind of weird. That's where...
They start out with the carp
Well,
team.
when we were in high school, it was at Tumwater High School in like 1990, so this kind of fad thing was going on where kids were wearing these giant belt buckles and cowboy hats and stuff. And even though they weren't really like, it's not Georgia or, you know, Alabama, it was Washington. It's kind of cracker town. Well, there were just a lot of weird things that happened. I mean, we got picked on, but there was also, you know, there was a party one time where they like tied a black mannequin up with these football player guys and lit it on fire and beat it with sticks. And we were just thinking, how is this possible where we live, you know? And I started making these one-sheet kind of zine things, you know, and have like an illustration or whatever. Jared or I would type it up, and then it was really just supposed to be subversive and like controversial, and yeah, but it was childish. You know? We were 15, 16, just going like, you know, these crackers, blah blah blah, you know, rednecks die, this and that. And stuff. And actually, there were some threats made from some redneck kids and stuff. They probably all turned out to be nice people, you know. Those are the ones that breed, though. You know what I mean? Like, this is my 6 kids: Mordecai, Josiah, Bellakai, Jimenez, and Joe. You know, poor rednecks. And that's why it was K period, A period, R period. You know, kill all redneck kids. But I remember Jared calling me one time when we were 16 or 17. We'd been playing for a while and done the newsletters and stuff. He said, I don't really like the idea of having something that says kill someone, kill anybody. You know, I was like, well, that's all right. It's not really supposed to literally mean to murder someone for being liking Garth Brooks or something. You know, it's just, being stupid, and it sounded, it was a word, but every letter stood for something. It's retarded. We could have picked a lot better name. So that's how the name started. Eventually dropped the periods and stuff, and they're like, what does that mean? We were supposed to say it had nothing. It's like the fish, but just with a K, just because we like it like that. It doesn't mean kill rednecks or whatever. It's pretty lame.
You're actually telling people that you're named after the fish?
No, actually, I think some people in town thought that we were named after because it was K Records and it was carp with a K. It was like fish metal with a K. I don't know what people thought. They probably just thought like that's a stupid name for a band.
So how did you guys distribute the bands? You said it like the kids.
Oh,
that was targeted. I came in contact with it, and
right, yeah, and actually a girl that had nothing to do with it. This girl named Beth Grover. There was like a punk girl at school. It's like I think she got some fucking like stickies or something taped on her locker. We'll kill you, motherfuckers. She was like, yeah, thanks a lot. I didn't even do this stuff. I would just go in and Jared and I think would just drop them on the floor, and there'd just be people would just, oh, what's this? They see 20 of something printed on the floor. What is that? And pick it up. Said some of it was kind of dirty, and some of it was just offensive, probably to a lot of people there. That's what it's supposed to do. It's like I'm 16. I got nothing better to do than be an asshole. I'm a lot nicer person now. I think I'm more accepting of rednecks and stuff like that.
So do you think it was like, I don't know, when you're that young, I probably don't do anything consciously, but like, do you think it was a kind of thing of being like, I'm not this?
Yeah, totally. Really, it was just trying to, I think, being that age, really trying to just find out who you are, and wasn't the most constructive thing probably we could have been doing with our time, but I don't know, there's something about boredom and teenage angst, when mixed, I think makes you do things that later might look really creative, but aren't actually necessarily creative. Just saying what you hate and typing it down and like saying fuck you and this and that. It's not artistic, I don't think. It's just it's like when you get on the microphone and just scream, It's you ever heard like Born Against? That kind of just gut screaming, letting your angst out stuff. I think that was what it was about. And trying to be funny. Cracking each other up was more important than trying to impress anyone or do anything that was going to be remembered. It's just to be silly.
So how do you think the I don't know, would you define the music as aggressive at all?
Yeah, totally aggressive. Loud and obnoxious. When I listen to it today, it's been 10 years, I think. It's very obnoxious sounding to me. I don't listen to stuff like that really. I like country now. Not really, but it is. It's too noisy. It's like, and I've seen lots of bands like that. Kids are like they don't even know how to set their fingers on that. What's it called? See, I still don't. What's it? Fretboard, guitar thing. But it just goes, shong, shong, shong. The cool thing was that Scott was such a good drummer eventually that it didn't matter. Like you could just put your guitar in front of the thing and go like, woo-wee, and he'd be going crack, 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 crack. And everyone's like bobbing their heads up like, this is great. You also could have played like, the Mr. Rogers Neighborhood theme behind it, feedback, and have him just going boom, 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 boom. It would have sounded as cool probably. Not the rock and roll chorus.
Do you guys ever talk about that, like jokingly, like, hey, thanks man for making this all work?
Yeah. Well, there were a lot of shows when we were starting when someone would come up to Scott specifically when we weren't around him and be like, dude, you're so good. You should be playing with like people that know how to play and stuff and like really making some good music. He's like, I'm just playing with these guys. It's funny. He was technically brilliant. You know? We were not. So that's what you get, you know. Bang, 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 bang. All right,
Should we walk to another place?
another locale. I don't know where else to go.
Okay. So was like hanging out.
Oh, thanks.
Was like hanging out with them too much different than playing with them?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, actually, I think I was kind of a dick a lot when I was a kid, and I think Scott and Jared had a connection that I didn't tap into as much. Like it was just they were probably better friends than I was with either one of them. You know, we're all great friends, but I think that they hung out and had more fun than like I did with them. It wasn't like, and eventually I actually didn't see Scott except to just play shows and stuff like that. But when we were on tour, it was the best time ever. You know, it was the funnest stuff I ever did was hang out with them in a van for hours on end and just drive and listen to and eventually, you know, weird shit is just coming out of you, and it was really entertaining.
What was we talk about like what touring was like? Maybe like the first tour, like what you were doing prior, and then.
The first tour was like just a West Coast tour, and I think we, you know, drove every city between here, Seattle and San Diego. I mean, Huntington Beach, San Francisco, we did San Jose, Santa Cruz, Sacramento, Oakland, you know, or Berkeley, whatever, down at Gilman, and Portland, Corvallis, Eugene, that kind of stuff in Oregon. But, it was cool, and it was the first time I'd ever really been out of the state, you know, just to travel a little bit and play music. And we'd play and open for other bands, probably get anywhere from $10 to like $50 for opening. One time, I remember one time we played in, where's REM from? Athens. We got a picture of Flat Budweiser for playing in Athens, Georgia. That was the lowest I think we'd ever gone. They had no money, and they're like, well, we were gonna drain these kegs and then throw them out, so here. It was always a struggle. Not until the last couple of tours did we actually make enough money where it's like always had gas, food, you know. It was rough, you know. But it was so fun, you know, what are you gonna do?
What kind of effect was that, like, discovering?
Well, I think it's like anything that someone really has a passion for, but they don't have the means to make a living at it. Someone that's a painter, brilliant painter, you know, where if they were born 100 years ago, maybe I'm not comparing that shit music, you know, to that kind of art, but where someone still has to pull shots or, you know, change tires while they're doing their art, you know, and we all did, you know, Jared and I and Scott, we worked shitty jobs. We worked at the theater, we worked, you know, I worked at pet stores, gas stations, just so when the time came to tour and we'd have something booked for 6 weeks, it'd be like the kind of job you had, you'd be like, no, I'm leaving for 6 weeks. If you want to let me work when I get back, that's cool. Otherwise, I'll just get a different, see you later, you know, thanks for the work. But it was kind of cool. The best part was going to a different state and city, even a small town, going to Green Bay and having even 40 or 50 kids show up because they want to see your band. You know, it's kind of cool. Yeah. I never thought we'd ever play even live shows when we started, you know, here. It's pretty fun.
So the point was like entirely to like just hang out with them.
Yeah, and you know, once we recorded a record or something, you know, wanted other people to, you know, wanted to promote it and get people to listen to it and stuff like that. And just play with other bands. We made so many friends, you know, just all over the country. We keep in touch with. I'm not in touch with any of them anymore, but for a long time it was just really, really fun to travel and see different places and, you know, I don't think we ever played bigger than. We opened for Beck for a tour. You know, that's probably the biggest we ever did. It's like 1,000 people or something. You know, but on our own it was always a few hundred at the most, and just make enough to get to the next city if your band doesn't break down.
How do you think you might started playing right there?
I think it changed in the way that I think I would have been working a shitty job. Yeah, when we started playing, it was like we probably each of us would have gone to college or started a career somehow. That guy's a crackhead, actually. I know that guy. I don't know him, but I know he is a crackhead. We would have probably gone to school or done some sort of career stuff. We wanted to do that instead. We wanted to play music. So it was just kind of floating and, week to week. We didn't really, I don't think any of us had any big plans for career, goals, anything like that. Our lives, none of us were going to raise a family anytime soon. So it changed our lives in the way that, we really just I looked forward to the next time we could tour, the next time we could record, play, and stuff like that. I think when you're you're 20 years old, what would be cooler than that, You don't mind working a shitty job if you can also play music and do that for your hobby,
And what was the reaction?
Yeah, see, all I need is the paddle game and this chair and the remote control. That's all I need. That's funny. Here's the local drug barn. Looks like they gave it a fresh coat of paint recently, though. Why? Everyone stares at Olympia. That's something else, too. They drive and go, oh, no.
I can't believe something looked different than it did the day before.
Look at that.
So what's the deal with this building?
Well, they used to call it the Mustard Mansion, and it was where, there's probably like coke, heroin, pot, like every window was another department, for whatever dope. Maybe they cleaned it up a little bit. This is the battered women's shelter, sort of, what's that called? Safe place. I was gonna say safe house. That's the safe place. Ooh, there's where we used to play poker. See the gray one, 2-story right there? It used to be red, and it was called the Red House. We used to play poker in the basement there. That's where Vern lived. I lived with him in the basement there for a while. Good old space heaters.
Tim, one or two was recorded there?
Yeah. Tim Green, from Nation of Ulysses. That was one of my favorite bands. They were so good. He moved in there and was living in the garage part of the basement. And it was so dank. I swear mushrooms were growing out of the fucking carpet, But yeah, we recorded a couple things in there on 8-track. He had just great ability to get the loudest sounding shit in that basement. It's really cool. Did the vocals in the bathroom downstairs.
And what was he doing at that time? He was just out of Nation or something?
Yeah, he moved over here from Washington and was just recording, and he was playing in a couple bands here. I think Young Gins and something else. Oh, Lice. Really good guitar player. He actually played with the Wipers for a little while. I think Tim did.
Do you know what the deal was with him? Why he decided to, jump the Eastern Seaboard and
I have no idea.
end up over here?
Yeah, he was always really quiet and really, really nice, and just everyone liked him. I don't know if he just got sick of it over there and he liked the community over here or whatever. He was going out with Kathleen for a while. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. She lived here.
So what about that whole thing, the whole Riot Girl stuff that was going on, and
Yeah. That's right when we were starting playing. I think that was going on. So it was really
what was going on?
girls, the Riot Girl thing,
Yeah.
It's like angry girl bands, you know. And really, actually, Bikini Kill was fucking awesome, you know. Actually, really good music, like great drummer and good singer, you know. That was some of the first shows I saw. It was like the old Riot Girl stuff, you know, when I was a kid.
Jared was kind of saying, like, and I was really stoked that he was saying this because I kind of felt the same way in a sense that, like, it's kind of a weird time to, like, grow up as a guy.
Yeah, being like, try to be like hardcore band, or when it's all like, yeah. What was that? We saw this band called, Tribate, play at the house we lived in on Central in the basement. She had this rubber dong. She had it out and she took a fucking knife out and like sliced it off of herself. You know, it's like, all right, that's the real shit. You know what I mean? These girls were fucking hardcore. You know, it was a different time. You know, I don't know. I thought it was cool. You know, my old girlfriend, she was into that shit. You know, she played girl bands and was, you know, considered herself like Riot Girl or whatever.
What do you think their impressions of you guys were?
Well, like I said, that first time we played, and I said, we had this song called like, because all of our songs, you know, when you're that age, like about what we saw in our everyday lives. One of them was called, Jared made it up, called Solar Queen, I think. It's like about tanning bed, you know, girls or in high school and stuff. So, and I made some stupid comment, because I was just like clueless, you know. It's like, yeah, this is about the girls that like to, you know, give head to the jocks or something, you know. It's like, ha, and that was supposed to be funny in my mind, you know. I'm sure Jared just looked at the floor and shook his head or something.
Sorry,
But we
tried to
got,
get you before that.
that was when Kathleen yelled, like, kick him in the balls or whatever. So probably not the best first impression, but I think, also everyone downtown, they were really supportive and stuff, you know. I think there was always, like, people that thought there were some snobby, snooty scenester types, and then types that were, you know, that I really think it was a really supportive community. Everyone was really into, like, you know, your friend's band's playing, you go see it, you know. Your band's playing, they go see it, you know. Everyone lent instruments, vehicles, information, you know, everything. Just.
Where do you think the idea of that snobbiness came from?
I don't know. I think it's all ignorance, really, that makes people suspicious, or, you know. I don't know who was supposed to be, like, snobby or whatever. Watch out with the car. There you go. But you know what I mean? Like how whenever there's some, you know, scene, some music scene going on in some area, there's going to be people who feel like they're in it or out of it, and then, you know, bitter because of that or whatever. I don't really know where it comes from. I just think.
I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It really is that, because it's like if you're in, you're in. You don't see it and you don't feel it, and if you're out,
you know, just like these are my buddies.
Concentrated in the right things, then it's all you see.
Right. I think I was pretty nice. Or, I don't know. I think I didn't like select friends based on what they did or who they were or who they knew or anything like that. At least, I hope not. I know I had a lot of friends and still do that. You know, when we were younger and playing, like some certain like crusties or whatever, you know, Hesher types would show up to a party, and they're like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" But I'd have two different friends at a party that would not like each other at all because they're at odds in some way, you know. The guy that just hopped trains, you know, and was laying on the floor with his dog and throwing beer cans at people, or, you know, Calvin or whatever, you know, just like, oh, I just came here to check out the show. I'm out. That's funny, huh? All right.
Do you think that ended up being like in the music? I mean, the kind of like duality of like growing up where you did and then having this enormous, you know, it's kind of a weird thing of growing up in a really small town with like a scene that was quickly to become like you know, national and international on some levels next door. That doesn't really happen there.
Not when you grow up in Tumwater. No. In Olympia, it's somewhat, you know. Yeah. You get fan mail from Belgium or Japan or something. It's like, how the fuck did you find out about that? It's all about distribution, I think, you know. Calvin's always been really smart, I think, about, you know, there's a fine line between like selling out and just doing what you know is going to like sell the most records and get your product out to people and stuff, right? It's never been, that's a kind of interesting point, I guess. It was never about like, you know, a lot of people think it's about this cool thing, you know. It never felt cool, you know, just about wanting to play music and get as many people to hear it as possible, you know.
Because the thing I always thought was really interesting, and it's kind of you know, about Carp or whatever, was that like it kind of held these two things in it. I mean, I'm sure like kind of accidentally, but you know, it kind of held these two things. It was like a big, you know, metal band in a certain way, you know, which is always kind of identified, especially then, with like hick shit.
Yeah.
Like you're a hick dude that plays metal.
Duh.
But then it also had this like, you know, kind of further thinking, and maybe that's attached to the humor aspect of it. But
I think
it's
so.
kind of further thinking, like
The intellect part of it was definitely about humor, you know, about. But you didn't think we were going to say that, you know. Jared's lyrics were always the funniest thing, you know. Very, very pop too. It could have had a Casio fucking keyboard beat to the back of it, but instead it was like wow, 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 and he's still going, you know, singing about pie or, you know, something just totally retarded.
You guys sang together.
Yeah.
So you were like writing lyrics together as well?
Yeah, sometimes, or we'd write a song and then kind of decide like who's gonna sing it, or when we're at practice, one of us would start singing something, and that would, you know, eventually work itself. And a lot of times we didn't write lyrics until the day we recorded the music. It was more about the, you know, syllables, just how many you fit into the certain line and screaming a certain way. And then sometimes it would work out. That song Bacon Industry was actually this line. I said faking in their sleep. And then Scott said, you know, oh, it sounds like you say Bacon Industry. So then from then on, and we even recorded it Faking in Their Sleep, but called it Bacon Industry and wrote Bacon Industry in the lyrics because Scott thought it was so funny. You know? Sounds like Bacon Industry. I don't even know what that means. You know? Industry of bacon. I like bacon.
Okay, so we should meet you over there?
Oh, this is your car. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's drive up to the Lucky 7 house.
Okay, I don't know. How do I get there? It's